Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and these are the hottest Golden Age comics for the week. And it's a wish list almost. I look at these books, and I feel like I wish I had seen these auctions. I wish I had been paying attention when these sold instead of after they sold, because these are some pretty amazing books that sold, and they went for some pretty good prices. Number 10 on the list is probably one of the biggest steals that I've ever seen. This is like massive steal. It was for Blazing Comics number 5. This is from Rural Home. There's no real date associated. It's from like maybe the 40s to 50s, that era. Because what happened is Blazing Comics number 5 basically had like interiors from other comics. There was actually a real comic of Blazing Comics number 5, but what they would do is that got printed, and then they took remainder copies and then put that cover onto the remainder copies. So they're original books, but with this Blazing 5 cover. So this was the interior for Marvel Family 1, okay? That was inside this Blazing Blazing Comics 5. And it's, Marvel Family 1 is the first appearance of the Black Adam. So pretty major book inside. There are other interiors that are also major keys. There's also an interior that's sometimes swapped in, which is Detective 168, which is the first appearance of the Red Hood and the first origin story for the Joker. So lots of huge books hidden in this weird Blazing Comics number 5. And this was a 9.4 that sold, really high grade. It had a bit of restoration, B1 restoration, so semi-professional but minor restoration, and it sold for $46.21. That's it. This is like such a steal. Now there's nothing to compare it to. There's no prior sales for this high grade and restored, but this is a steal. Okay, I'm going to tell you why I think this is a steal. Marvel Family, a coverless copy of Marvel Family goes for over $400. The last sale was back in December of 2022 for $380. So, yeah, you could just basically crack the slab, rip off the cover, and then you could, 10x your money. So it's like just really big steal on this one. The Detective 168 interior, if that was the one that was inside, there was a Blazing Comics number 5 that sold back in 2018 with that interior for $4,750. So to give you some understanding of how valuable these weird variant interiors can be, it's just crazy value. So if you can find like some of these these comics out there, look inside. Maybe they might have some weird interior that's super valuable. It's really hard to say what the census count is. There's actually a lot of different variants that are inside. There's some from DC, Fawcett, all over the place. So there's supposedly, of the normal version, there's like 9. Sorry, actually, of the Detective 168 version, there's about 9 of those. I have no idea how many in total of all the different variants, but it's not many. Okay, so it's just an interesting one. Number 9 on the list is Crime Patrol number 15. This is from EC Comics, 1949. It's a Johnny Craig cover, and it's the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper. Now, it's not the most exciting cover, but that first appearance is major, and people are really willing to pay up for this book. This was another steal, in my opinion. This was a NG copy, which means non-graded or no grade. It's missing the cover and missing page 13. And it sold for $200. Again, only sale in this grade. But there was a .5 that sold back in 2018 for $444. Now, I've seen actually eBay listings currently for .5s that are as high as like $3,500. So for $200, seems like a really good price for a coverless copy for such a key character. There's 87 of these on the census, and 81 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 8 on the list. Maybe the third steal in a row. This is Venus Comics number 13 from Timely 1951. It's a Bill Everett cover. It's just a really cool cover. You got Venus on the cover, so you got that good girl art element, and you got King of the Living Dead, where he's kind of like this weird, it looks like some summoning rituals going on where some undead zombies are being summoned, and a whole bunch of women kind of, it's just a cool cover. It's like a really interesting cover. And this one was poorly listed. So it didn't have the issue number. It didn't say, oh, this is Venus 13, you should pick it up. So it was listed in a 2.0, and it sold for $248. Now, the previous record for this book was just set back last year, just 1 year ago, in February of 2024 for $359. So basically, the seller lost $100 by not listing the book correctly. Somebody got a steal on that one too. There's 41 of these on the census, and 39 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Now, there's maybe 4 steals in a row, because number 7 on the list is Action Comics number 27. But when they listed it as 271. They added this extra 1 on the thing, so it wasn't listed properly. This is from DC Comics 1940. It's a Paul Cassidy cover, and it has an ad for All-Star Comics number 1, and it has the first Lois Lane cover. So this is kind of a key book for Lois Lane collectors. It's the first cover for Lois Lane, and it's one that was on my want list, like last year's want list. It was one that I couldn't get, and I tried, but hard book to get. And it's also a cool lion cover. It looks like Superman's going to give like a throat punch to the lion. It's just a cool cover. This was a .5 that sold, and it sold for $329.99. So $330. Now, this one was missing page 8. That's why it was a .5. And it was from actually a bound volume of Action Comics, and so you get like a lot of like glue along the spine, and it's also trimmed. So it was a restored .5. Just so you know, that it's not a blue label; it's a restored label. Now, this is the only sale in this grade, because you don't see .5 restored that often for this book. But there was a .5 blue label that sold, and it sold for $375 in November of 2021. So this is kind of in line with that blue label, but still, I would have loved to have picked this one up. It didn't present that badly. I missed out by not seeing this listing. So there's 116 of these on the census, and 86 of them are blue labels. Number 6 on the list is Superman 26. This is from Detective Comics, or DC, I should say, 1944. It's a Jack Burnley cover, and it's the kind of a cool war cover with Goebbels and the Liberty Bell being held up by Superman, and he's speaking on Radio Berlin, which is interesting. Goebbels, was the propaganda minister for Hitler. So this is kind of a cool, like, anti-propaganda cover, but used as a propaganda cover for the U.S. So interesting mix there. So this was a 0.5 that sold, and it sold for $1,000. Now it's missing a centerfold. That's the reason why it's a 0.5, and it has like a fairly big chunk out of the back, like about fifth of the cover missing in the back. But other than that, presents really well. This is a really big sale because the previous record for this book was set back in March of 2021 for $350. Now, actually, the last sale for the same book was in January of 2022, so a year later, where it only sold for $119. So it actually had dropped fairly dramatically, and it was, sort of on the decline. But this was a massive sale. So there's 223 of these on the census, and 198 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 5 on the list is Startling Comics number 52. It is from Better Publications, 1948. It has a great Alex Schomburg cover. It's an airbrush cover with Tara with Tara, and she's in this bubble, and there's like a sawfish kind of circling around it. It's just a really cool underwater cover. But this one is interesting because sawfishes, their saw, I guess, their nose is this way. It's horizontal, not vertical. And on the cover, it's vertical. So a little bit of a mistake there, but I thought that was really interesting. This was a 5.5 that sold, and it sold for $1,800. That's a pretty massive sale because the previous record for this book was set back in November of 2018 for $1,226. And the last sale actually had dropped to $1,080 in January of 2022. So this book has almost doubled, not quite, 80% up from that prior sale 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. So there's 57 of these on the census, and 56 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 4 on the list is All-Star Comics number 5. This is from DC Comics, 1941. It's a Howard Purcell cover, and it's the first appearance of Sarah Saunders as Hawkgirl. So this is the very first appearance of Hawkgirl in costume, basically. So kind of a cool book, major key. Hawkgirl actually appeared before Wonder Woman, so she's actually considered one of the first costumed superheroes. She didn't actually have powers at that time, though. She gets her powers later. This was a 6.0 that sold, and it sold for $3,000. Now, this is actually not up or down. It just ties the previous record, which was set back in January of 2022 for $3,000. So this book basically just held its value. But yeah, didn't really go anywhere. Great book, though. Hard to actually get. There's 147 of them on the census, and 102 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 3 on the list is Batman Comics number 14. This is from DC, 1942. It's a Jerry Robinson cover, and it's the second cover appearance of the Penguin, but it's also the first cover appearance in title. So in the Batman title, this is the first time you see him. Very important book for Penguin collectors. Penguin's like one of the major villains for Batman, so I'd say he's top 3. This was a white pager as well that sold, and it was a 6.0, and it sold for $3,003.03 in auction on eBay. This The previous record for this book was set back in September of 2023 for $2,667. So this is up about $400 from the prior record. But the book had actually slid a little bit. There was the last sale for this book was back in October of 2024, so just a few months ago, for $2,400 and $25. So $2,425. That's the easier way of saying it. So this book had actually kind of lost a little bit of value, but then now with this record sale, it's gone up quite significantly, about 20%. There are 274 of these on the census, 79 of these on the census, and 232 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 2 on the list is Mask Comics number 1. This is from Rural Home, 1945. It's a classic LB Cole cover, and it's also got inside of it, it has a bullet to the head panel, which makes it extra cool as well. But this is just a classic cover with, LB Cole's kind of, like his really vibrant colors, kind of interesting color palette with these weird fairies and this weird demon mask holding a candle. It's just a really cool cover. Very, very much one of the best covers of all time, actually, considered. This was a 1.5 that sold, and it sold for $6,300. Now, this is actually down because the prior record for this book was set back in March of 2024 for $8,280. So it had, dropped quite significantly, about $2,000 in the last year. I think, though, that $8,000 sale was actually a little bit out of line. I mean, this book had sort of a meteoric rise because the previous sale for this book before that $8,000 sale was set back in 2016 for $550. So this book had gone just crazy. It just shot up, I don't know, just massively. And I think, maybe I'm thinking it's more of a $5,000 book, maybe $6,000. It seems a little high even at $6,000. But yeah, it's a very desired book, even in this grade. There's 84 of these on the census, and 69 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 1 on the list is Detective Comics number 140. This is from DC in 1948. It's a Win Mortimer cover, and this is the first appearance of the Riddler, another big Batman villain. And the Riddler's real name is Edward Nygma, and so Nygma, kind of a good play on words. This is, it's a really cool book because he's on the cover. I love when the first appearance is also the first cover appearance, and that's what we have in this one. This was a 4.5 that sold, and it sold for $10,500. Now, this is actually down as well. The previous record for this book was set back in April of 2023 for $11,400. Now, this book had actually dropped since that record because the previous sale before this current sale was set back in September of 2024 for $8,100. So this book is kind of all over the place in terms. If you look at the graph of this book, it's like up, down, up, down. It's all over the place. And part of the reason for that is the Riddler was used in the Batman movie. I thought he did a good job, the guy that played it. I thought it was a good movie overall. But obviously the book had dropped since the movie. So interesting sale. But it's kind of getting back to where the record levels are. There are 235 of these on the census, and 201 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So that's it. That's the top 10 list. Did anyone buy any of these books? There was a few that I really am kicking myself that I didn't see these auctions, like Blazing Comic. I don't. There's a there's a Warren magazine. I have to just tell a little story here. There's a Warren magazine called Blazing Combat, and whenever I see Blazing Comics, I always want to say combat. So it's just like in my head, I'm saying both, and it's driving me nuts. So that's why I'm stumbling on that. Blazing Combat, comics. See, it's like combat comics. It's in my head. It's driving me nuts. Blazing Comics #5 is just such a cool. Like whoever bought that really lucked out. That is just such a great find. You know, it's not one that people would necessarily think is a really good book to pick up because it's not a key in any way. But when you find the right interior, oh my goodness, it's a gold mine. It's like a little a little treasure hunt there. I just think that's so cool. So yeah, so did anyone buy any of these? I'd love to hear in the comments below. What do you think of these variant interior covers or comics? I'd love to hear your opinion on that. And bye for now.